If you've made any of these DIY claw weights using a fork and pennies for a weight, I came up with a little decorative sleeve. You can crochet, knit, or whatever you choose to do. My fork kept slipping out no matter what tape I used, so I ended up adding an extra loop here to keep it from slipping out. So I'm going to show how I did that. For this project, I'm just using some leftover multicolored yarn. I believe this was a Red Heart worsted. It's probably a size 4, and I'm using a size H crochet hook. This is not a crochet lesson, but I use the magic loop to make this sleeve. So I'm just going to quickly show you how I do it. I leave my tail hanging down my hand, and then I cross that over, pull up a loop, and then I do a chain to secure that. And then I make my loop a little bit smaller. So depending on how fat your roll of pennies is, I had a lot of tape on mine, so I ended up having to do 14 single crochets, but you can do 12 to 14, whatever works for your setup. So I'm going to do 14 single crochets in that loop. Okay, I finished the 14 single crochets in the loop, so I'm just going to pull the tail to tighten that up. And that will create the base for the sleeve. And then I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch to join the round. And then I'm going to start my spiral by slip stitching in the back loop all the way around. But before I go very far, I want to stop and tighten up this little join here. We don't want too much of a hole. So I'm just going to run my thread on the underside. Doesn't matter what it looks like because it won't show. And just keep tightening that up. Pulling tight, and run it a few times until you feel like it's not going to slip anymore. I can still see that hole closing up, so I'm going to keep going till I feel like it's tight. And then you can clip that off. So now I'm just going to continue around. There's my little tail that I did on the inside, and I'm just going to keep slip stitching in the back loop all the way around. No increases at all. It's going to start forming a tube after you get a few rounds done. After you've done a couple of rounds, just start pushing that base down so that you start making a little bowl, and then continue crocheting your slip stitch spiral, and this will start tightening up after a while. Continue crocheting around and around your sleeve until it measures about a ½ inch taller than your roll of pennies. Okay, I think I've got enough rounds done to cover the weights. You just need a little bit to cover the top so that we can draw it up. So it looks like it's about 3 rounds to cover this top. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of a tail and cut that off. I'm going to go ahead and pull that through. And slip the fork inside. And then we're going to thread the needle and do a little drawstring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and out of this top loop here. to make a drawstring, and you can do 2 or 3 loops at a time, all the way back to the beginning. Try not to split the yarn because it'll make it hard to draw up. And I believe I'm back to the beginning here. And then just pull that tight. Then I'm going to work my way back to the center of the back of the fork, or the front, just depends on where you ended up. Because what I want to do is make those little loops that go through the tines of the fork. So I'm just going to run it through the middle like that, and then I'm going to grab in the center like that, and then run it through another set of tines to the back, grab it in the middle again, and then run it through the last gap, and then secure it there in that same spot. And then I'm going to try to tie a knot where it won't show. So that won't come undone. You can do that a couple of times if you feel like you need to. And then you can hide the tail down through the layers, but I like to go around a few times where the yarn won't show. Probably don't need to do this very far. I like to have a little extra in case the yarn starts working its way out, then you can have enough of a tail to work with later. And then just clip that off.